Morning to the leader in you. Listen, we are back for another phenomenal edition of Good Morning to the Leader in You. Well, I am Catherine, your host. And of course, like always, we're joined by our co-host, Dr. Leroy McKenzie. Absolutely. When we say good morning to the leader in you, we say good morning to your possibilities. We say good morning to your purpose. We say good morning to the dreams that still have not manifested yet, but are still in your mind. And sometimes we got to pull those things out of our mind, put it on a piece of paper, write the vision, make it plain, make a strategic plan, and then do what? Go to work and execute on it. Because our plans, our dreams mean nothing if we don't go to work. And so today we have two phenomenal guests. We have one in Maryland and one in the Georgia area, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. And so I want everyone to really tune in, share this link, share this live. Of course, like always, afterwards, it's going to be saved. So it may be some gems that you hear today and you want to hit the replay and kind of listen to it on repeat. That's what today is all about. I want Dr. Leroy McKenzie to just share some personal words about each person before I officially read the bio of our first presenter.
Well, thanks, Catherine, and good morning to the leader in you, everybody. Y'all know it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday morning, so we are here to hopefully pour into you to get you elevated, motivated, and moving in the right direction. And just a little bit, I'll talk a little bit about these two individuals because I actually happen to know them just a little bit. Mr. Shadid and I'll introduce her. No, ladies first. I'm going to go with Coach Marci first. I'll go with her first and introduce her. But I happen to be on Instagram, and there's this young lady that was talking about fitness and talking about getting individuals in shape and talking about doing more, and especially, and she'll talk a little bit more about this specifically for those of us who are over the age of 40. I'm just saying, I know, none of us on here look over 40, but but she has a program, and she has not just a fitness program, but also she talks about nutrition and everything like that. And I'm trying to, like I've told her, I'm trying to live as long as I can. So I want to make sure I'm in the best shape that I can. And I thought it'd be great to have her to be able to just come and talk about some of the things that she's doing, the programs that she has available for everybody to be able to get us right, not just physically, but also mentally too. And then Brother Shadid, Eleazer, what can I say about this brother? He has been someone I've known for several years, many years now, and he and I are part of an organization called Black Professional Men, whose mission is to ensure the future of the African American male. And we work together with that organization, and we work together as business associates as well. And he's just a great guy to be around. He teaches me, pours into me. I hopefully pour into him when it comes to a business perspective and the things that we do business wise, making life better, hopefully for entrepreneurs that are out here doing things that improve the community, but also improve us as entrepreneurs. So that's just a little bit about these two individuals. And I'm so glad that they were able to join us this morning, Catherine, because I can't wait for the conversation.
Absolutely. We want to give a shout out to some of the viewers tuning in. Give a shout out to author Angelia, and she is tuning in from the Texas area. We thank you so much. So as we are flowing with today's show, as you're tuning in, feel free to drop your business information on the Facebook chat feed. We would love to connect with you. We would love to collaborate with you as we continue to build in 2020. Well, for those of you that know, when we do our show, we always bring individuals to the table. I call them golden nuggets. So get ready, pull out the pen, paper, your phone, whatever you want to use to jot that down. Shadid is a Maryland-based U.S. Navy veteran who created a business model that was licensed by 17 U.S. states and utilized for a government re-election campaign. Experts and entrepreneurs hire Shadid and his team to help them convert their signature online programs and best-selling books into a license-ready curriculum that is sold to corporations, universities, and government agencies. Listen, y'all ready for this? I mean, it's so much about what he's doing. He's a philanthropist. He has organized community redevelopment campaigns that has raised millions of dollars to empower lower income communities. Listen, I think we just need to bring him on. We need to bring on Shadiq. So let's hit the unmute. We're gonna actually just go flow right into it. Talk a little bit about, people hear the bio, but talk about who you are before you started doing all these wonderful things. Let the viewers know a little bit about you and what pulled you in even to be an entrepreneur.
First of all, it's an honor, it's a privilege, and a pleasure to share this time and space with you and Leroy and the community as a whole. And so when we start with my story and my journey, it all starts with family. In fact, the first pillar of my life is that guides my life is family is the first business. So there's a lot of people who may look at my bio and let's say the veneer, the outside, the shiny packaging. But it all starts with the examples that I was given. I always start with the earliest examples of the do for self mentality that my family had. So for example, no matter where we may have worked during the day, we always came home and worked together. The example that I like to give is that if it was Thanksgiving dinner and I go and I say, well, hey, Grandma, I got my home redone by the contractors outside of Home Depot, the music would stop, everybody would look because I have a cousin who can rebuild an entire house with his hands. Why didn't you stay within the family? So from day one, that was the mentality that was everyone does it. I moved in high school to help my uncle with his restaurant. And so every member of the family has their gift, has their superpower. And so when people say, well, money and family don't mix, or don't work with family, I look at them as if they have 3 eyes and 4 arms. It's like that's unusual to me because that's the mentality that I was raised with. How that applies to business is that no matter what job I may have worked, because I didn't start off with the Lamborghini and all these things that you may see on Instagram, but no matter what job I worked in, whether I was in the military, whether I was just starting out, I always learned from them and apply to us. And so that applies to partnerships. My partnerships tend to be longer. And just the values that go into business is what helps me to stay successful, continue to pour into community, because family extends beyond, let's say, the walls of your home. And if you're an entrepreneur, you are the heartbeat, the economic heartbeat of your community. So when people get to understand my work, there's more depth to it, which allows for longevity.
I like that what you just said, the economic, write that down to the economic heartbeat of the community. And I think that's so important because so many people that tune into this show, are leaders of other nonprofits or leaders of their business, and they give back to the community. And I think when we shift our perspective, if our perspective isn't already there, that we are the heartbeat of the economics in our community. Kind of elaborate more on that in terms of group economics. So let's say if somebody, maybe they don't gel, or maybe they don't do that right now, what your family does, like as far as pulling together. Can you give some people some tips on how it works for your family that maybe it can translate to their family?
Absolutely. Because when I say, well, my family did this, my family did that, the first resistance that I received, well, you don't know my family. My family, we can't even get together for a family reunion, or we only come together for funerals. That's the common resistance that I receive. And what I have to share with you is that if you don't come from a great family, then a great family must come from you. And so that's where it starts. So we all have examples of, let's say, dysfunction. We have, let's say, miscommunication. We have people who may be selfish or are just mirroring values that they were taught to survive as children. And so, and they bring that into adulthood. So if you know better, it's your responsibility to do better. Now, to the point that you made, or the question that you made, let's take group economics out of it. Let's talk about United States business.
Got it.
If you are a business owner, you must understand, and we have this mentality, especially in our community, that we're going to do it all ourselves. And business and success is not a solo sport. And an org chart, or organizational chart in itself, has different roles and responsibilities on it because as the CEO, as the personal brand, as the sole proprietor, your job is to have the vision. And when you have the vision, many hands make a lighter load. And so you bring the people who may be specialists who allow you to take the vision to the next level because you can't do it on your own. So that's where it starts. So once you have that org chart in place and think who, not how. So if I say, well, we're going to build a house together, and I'm trying to get my hammer, and I've never built a house, it's going to take a long time. Somebody's going to be injured. But if I say, well, who are the best people that I could bring in to put together the blueprint, build the structure and foundation, and build it up, then we can get it done together. Now, once you have that team, from a business standpoint in the United States, businesses have a greater set aside because they're job creators. They're, let's say, up to 50 to 60% of jobs are created by entrepreneurs in this country. So the government gives a preference or priority to those entrepreneurs. Now, if you're going to create jobs and we talk about group economics, it makes sense that if you want your tribe to survive, you're going to empower your tribe by establishing that structure and allowing for your own to come in and work, prosper, thrive, and grow. So when you start to think about group economics as a whole, is creating those jobs, but then every business needs its partners in order to sustain. So who are the people who think like you? Who are the people who are around you? Who are the people who are growing? And the beauty of business in this climate is that we're having this conversation across geographic boundaries. We're here in this room. Leroy's in his location. We have another guest health expert who is going to be coming on next, who is in Georgia. So when we talk about that group economics, it's not limited to Maryland, or it's not limited to Georgia. We can build these let's say, alliances across state and country lines. And that's where the fun part begins. So if you are a business owner and you can hear my voice and you can see my picture, then you have the power to create jobs across the world and empower that next generation of people who look like you, who support causes that are in alignment with your goals, your vision, your values. And that's why business is so important.
Absolutely. Listen, we thank all the individuals that are tuning in now. We thank all the individuals that are sharing this link. Again, as you tune in, as you pop in, feel free to drop your business information in the chat feed. We would love to give a shout out to your business. And I'm going to pass the virtual mic to Dr. Leroy.
Yeah. Shadi, I want to ask you this. I want you to, you just talked about having the, not just a local perspective when it comes to being an entrepreneur and impacting, and having a national perspective. I want you to talk about your business and how you assist entrepreneurs in being able to do just that very thing, if you can. If you can talk about just the, what you do, and then how you go about assisting individuals or entrepreneurs to be able to have that not just local but national perspective.
Okay, so when we talk about my superpower and what I was put on earth to do, so I run a business that is what I call strategic philanthropy. So what this is, so we're going to step aside from the what and talk about the why.
Okay.
And so for me, I believe that entrepreneurship is a vehicle to create the ownership mentality and to empower broken and lost communities. My area of focus to empower broken and lost communities happens to be education. Years ago, I would mentor in schools, which happened to be in low-income communities. And what I noticed was that in those communities, let's say there would be the technology resources were outdated. You would see kids who are, let's say, 3 kids around one computer. And what people don't realize nowadays is that illiteracy, let's say, for those who may be 40 and over, was defined as the inability to read the printed page. So magazine, read the board, books, so on and so forth. Now, when it comes to illiteracy in today's world, it's if your aunt, for example, has to go to her nephew because she can't go to monster.com or career builder to upload a resume and get a job. Or you can't, let's say, go online and register your driver's license. So technical illiteracy is the new form of illiteracy. But in the school system, in its definition, it's not defined in that way. It's still the old way. So with kids who are born in, let's say, lower income communities who have to pass state mandated tests that are on computers and delivered through technology, if you only have one computer in the class and you have 12 students, somebody's going to get left behind.
Right.
But here's what we don't realize is that prisons are privatized businesses, meaning you can go in business and launch a prison. And so when we talk about real estate, location, 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 the question I have for you, dear viewers, is where is the prime location to build a prison? I'll tell you the answer. It's the illiteracy rates of third and fourth grade boys. So they look at the illiteracy rates of third and fourth grade boys and they say, if this child can't read, there's a higher probability that this child is going to have lack, limitation, and ultimately fall into a life of crime. So I made this connection now, wait a minute, these kids who are right here in front of me don't have these resources and they're probably going to go to prison at some point. So I decided to bloom where I planted. And so what I started to do was build a business that operates for profit and reinvest into classrooms. And so when I make money, for example, in layman's terms, I reinvested into providing 21st century learning environments for classrooms. So I started partnering with Donors Choose, and to date, we've modernized over 1,000 classrooms, starting with local areas and then spanning around the globe. Done partnerships with Craig Newmark, Bill and Melinda Gates, and many other philanthropists around the world. And so that's the why. Now I want to give the what in terms of how do we make the money to do this. And so briefly, intellectual property is the new gold or the new oil in today's digital economy. Every entrepreneur has a superpower. But what they don't realize is the value of that superpower and that it is intellectual property. So I help them develop their intellectual property, which can be courses, which can be books. But the key here is that licensing, which is packaging your intellectual property and partnering with the agency, university, or corporation, creates stability within your business because you're no longer chasing clients who nowadays don't have the resources because we're in a pandemic. And so they're not thinking about paying, coach so-and-so or advisor so-and-so. They're thinking about Baltimore Gas and Electric is about to be cut off, or I need to make sure my kid is able to go to daycare and I might pay the coach. So instead of chasing clients, I teach my clients to enroll students by partnering with organizations that have the target audience that they're seeking. So we're trying to, let's say, license for entrepreneurs, for example, or business owners. Instead of us trying to call and cold call every business owner in the phone book, why don't we partner with Small Business Administration and license a program that we create because they're already serving them. So instead of charging $9.97 for a course, there's minimum purchase orders where you can say, order, dear SBA, in order for this deal to be executed, I need for you to purchase this program for a minimum of 25 seats. So we say 25 times $9.97 versus, that's one equation, versus $9.97 times one, and one next week, and maybe 1-2 weeks from now, if you're lucky or if they pay you. Then you start to look at the power of licensing. And what I have to share with you is that every textbook that you've ever read within a college scenario is an example of licensing. Every Walt Disney company with Mickey Mouse and Pluto and Goofy is the worldwide leader in licensing year after year after year after year. So the question becomes, if you are a creator, if you are an expert, how can you utilize your creations, your digital products in order to create that ripple effect that will benefit way beyond what you can do on your individual efforts? And the answer to that is through licensing and understanding your intellectual property.
Wow, and this is absolutely powerful. And we have people chiming in as you were speaking on our live feed. Arthur from Texas, she said, "Wow, this is great." We have David Green say, "Good morning to everyone." He's plugging in and they're sharing the live feed, and I'm over here sharing it while I'm taking notes at the same time. And some of the notes I jotted down struck me when you said, "Bloom where you are planted." That's very significant, because sometimes, we can kind of go out of pocket and go to other areas, but bloom. And what I get from that, what you mean is where you grew up, where you have some stake, your family, your friends, your community, pour back into that. So that's what I get from that. And then you said something else, reinvest into the community from your for-profit business. Then was another point that you mentioned. And when you started off, you said, I first got to talk about the why before I talk about the what. And then you went into saying, what is your superpower? And anybody watching now or going to be watching the replay, everyone has a superpower. We just got to tap into it. And once we tap into it, flow with it, and have that strategy for execution. But it was something interesting. And you also mentioned when you started talking about intellectual property, sometimes people don't protect their intellectual property. So again, we have a featured guest here today that you can follow up with and find out about his services more on a individual basis and tap into that, because sometimes we're giving away our knowledge and it's not properly protected. Dr. Leroy.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't stress enough how important it is to protect your intellectual property, and then also being able to take what it is that you are doing and having a strategic plan about how you want to grow it. And that's one of the things that Shadid really hones in on. It says, look, you can have the 1-2 clients or the 5 clients, but it would assist you, or what will help you to be able to go from what I say local to national is by having the licensing that allows you to be able to be broad, take your brand to that next level. Because I tell entrepreneurs, my clients, I say, you want to think local, you think national, and then you think global. There's a strategy for growing on to each of those levels. And it begins, like you just said, Catherine, and what Shadid said, where you grow where you grew, grow where you groomed at in the beginning. That's where it all starts. You have to have a plan even about how to do that. And then once you're able to have that down, it's like, all right, well, what's my next strategy to move from that next level? That's where licensing comes in. That's where you say, hey, okay, I know that I want to reach a broader audience, and one of the ways that I can do that, biggest way that I can do that is by being around where I can get a group of people or a conglomerate of people that I'm more than likely to be able to have. I don't have to do a whole lot of that of grinding, so to speak, where it's already, the kind of the formulation, the pool is already there. It's just a matter of taking that and using it to grow. And here's the thing about that: once you're in one specific organization or one specific particular place, that becomes your leverage and to get into the next one. Because you now have a resume that you built, a business resume that you built, or I've done business with these people, or I've done business with that people, and that looks better as you move forward. I promise you, every Fortune 500 company was once a small business. They started off local, they grew national, and they become international. There's not one of them, or if there is one, I'd like for somebody to point it out. But I think it's important what Shadid was saying about using licensing to be able to grow your business, and taking a look at it to see how can, is my business licensable? Really quick, because I know you got to go, Shadid. How do you, and I wanted to ask you this question, how does a business or entrepreneur know whether or not their business is licensable or their intellectual property is licensable? Because I'm assuming everything isn't licensable, but how do you be able to tell? How should they be able to know, that they need to pick up their phone and call you and say, hey, I'm interested in moving my business into that licensing aspect of it?
Well, the first detail that I always like to share is never lean on your own understanding. In the beginning of this conversation, I gave the analogy of building the house. And if you're going to build a house, you get a lot further along if you bring in the contractors, build the blueprint in order to do so. As I mentioned, I have been involved in business as part of my development as a human being. It's how I think and process, let's say, the world around me. And so when we talk about intellectual property, what separates what I do from others is that it's a business plan behind it. So we use intellectual property as the engine to drive your business, whereas where most people, solopreneurs, freelancers, entrepreneurs, use their individual efforts, and if they get sick, injured, or let's say go through an emergency, their business falls off. Intellectual property allows you to sustain your business because you're creating once and you're selling forever. The only differences you make is that you target who you're going to, let's say, give a license to your intellectual property to do business with. Now, to the question, how do you know if your ideas or intellectual property is licensable? It's simply this. If you have specific expertise that solves a problem for a specific group of people, there is a target audience that has or organization that has a target audience that serves on a greater level than you. So if you can go to Google right now and you can enter in your particular superpower and an organization pops up on Google that serves that particular superpower. For example, if we as this particular podcast were, let's say, a group that wanted to license, and we enter small business support into Google, and Small Business Administration shows up on the first page of results, that is proof that this particular superpower can be licensed, because licensing is simply owning intellectual property and giving permission for a larger entity, agency, or small business to utilize it under a specific set of terms and conditions that you define. And so when you think about your homework, dear listener, go to define your superpower, go to Google, and if an organization pops up on Google in the search results, then yes, your intellectual property has the ability to be leveraged for partnerships that will generate you a whole lot of money if you follow the steps in order to license.
Wow, there you have it. Listen. We have been enjoying our time in this educational. It's just been educational half an hour. We're going to be transitioning to Georgia, but before we do that, to Coach Marci, can you please drop your contact information, anything you would like to share, whether it be your website or whatever you would like to plug?
Well, I'd like to give you a gift, and the gift is how to package your intellectual property and create your first digital asset. Like I said, create once, sell forever. So if you want the step-by-step plan free of charge, you go to mrshadid.com/assets with an S. That's mrshadid.com/assets and claim your free digital assets execution plan, which will allow you to take the next steps that were based on the foundation of this discussion.
Wow. Well, there you have it. You definitely have to plug in, and we thank you so much for being a part of Good Morning to the Leader in You.
I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. And with that, I'm going to read this introduction of this beautiful queen that's coming on next. And if you haven't heard of her, you're going to hear about her this morning. I am Coach Marci, and I'm a certified nutritionist and an online health and wellness coach. I'm the mother of two beautiful girls and a Mimi of two beautiful girls. Yes, I'm a Mimi, and I'm proud of it. I have lived many lives, traveled the world, and explored many jobs. The life I live now is the one that's bringing me the best feelings of accomplishment. I have a chance to help women and men like you find something that I found 10 years ago: weight loss, happiness, strength, and confidence. I had the ability to reinvent myself from the inside out. How do you say? Through changing my nutrition habits for the better and staying consistent with my fitness regimen. And at this time, we present to you Coach Marci. Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us. And it was another little tagline, and I want to kind of start there, and you can share with us. It says, "I was unhealthy, unhappy, and overweight for my body size." How do we as individuals, if we're in that unhappy place, how do we transition? Because we're stuck in some type of rut or stuck in a situation. How do we begin to transition?
Honestly, it just takes one small thing, one small step. Say for instance, soda is your catalyst, right? So choose to drink soda or choose not to drink soda for 21 days. It takes 21 days to create a habit. So if you can find just something small to do with inside of your life and then make that transition, it then there becomes a little bit easier and it doesn't seem so daunting, right? Because people think about weight loss and fitness. I have to stop eating bread, rice, drinking soda. I can't drink. I can't have candy, can't have cake. I got to work out 7 days a week. That's all a falsehood, right? So one small thing. So no soda for 21 days or no sugar or refined sugar, right? And once you start doing that, start journaling. That's what I do, right? Write down what it is that you're wanting to achieve for the week, right? Mm-hmm. Only for the week, because again, it's something that is doable, something that you can accomplish without seeming so daunting. So that's what I would suggest.
Yeah, no, I think this is a very real topic, and even for entrepreneurs on the go, because I was just having a conversation with another colleague of mine, and again, I'm going to follow you one-on-one because I'm building, I'm developing, and I need to create healthier habits. I'll put it that way, being quite honest. Talk about entrepreneurs on the go creating healthier habits, eating habits.
Entrepreneurs on the go, a lot of my clients are exactly that. So they really come to me with nutrition issues. How do I stick to this meal plan when I've got this meeting, that meeting, got to go here, I'm driving? I said, food prep. That's all you got to do is food prep. Food prepping sounds, again, daunting, but it really is not. First of all, I use Instacart, so I don't ever go to the store. Because I do have too much to do. Like I'm constantly doing stuff, not only with my work, but with my children and my family. So one has to learn how to kind of delegate things and spend the extra money if you can afford that. However, if you can't, go shopping on like Friday or Saturday, right? Stick to the outer rims of the grocery store. Do not go down the middle unless you have kids. And even if you have kids, be mindful what you're buying, okay?
I'm hearing you got a strategy.
Dude, absolutely. I stick to the outside. I literally go straight to the veggies, buy all my veggies first, fill up on that, and then buy my meats, whatever it is that I'm getting, fish, chicken, organic, grass-fed. I know it's a little more expensive, but however, it is so much better for you in regards that the FDA puts so many hormones and antibiotics in these animals. If you've noticed, and I know we kind of a little bit got off topic, but I'll get back to that. If you notice how big chicken breasts are, they're bigger than you and I put together.
Honey. Oh yeah, they're gigantic.
Why are they that big? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And if you're eating that, you're also eating the hormones and the antibiotics, right? If you look at our kids nowadays, they're huge in comparison to what they used to be back. And I don't mean just weight-wise, I mean tall. Mm-hmm. Like they're big, right? Yeah. I see 9-year-olds looking like they're 15 and I'm like, wait, how old are you? It's insane. So when you come to food prep, stick to the outer perimeters And then again, if you do have kids, don't deprive them from eating stuff. But again, look for things that are lower in sodium count, lower in sugar count. If you can, buy gluten-free, soy-free, wheat-free, get stuff that has stevia or monk fruit inside of it. Because kids' taste buds are 10 times stronger than ours, right? So they can taste sugar a lot more than us, which is why they end up liking so much sugary sweets. You know what I mean? Because it just tastes so good. So once I buy everything that I need, I literally set everything out, and I either make my bigger meals on Saturday and like do the smaller ones on Sunday, or I do everything on Sunday, cook it, and then put it in the cabinets or the refrigerator. So all I have to do is grab and go, right? If I'm working, go on Amazon, because Amazon got everything. Buy the little the food trays, right? Buy the food tray so you can portion your food out. Plan it from Monday through Wednesday or Monday through Friday. Some people don't like eating the same thing or don't like food that's left over. My saying to that is, look, you got to kind of get over certain things. And unless you got time to cook in the middle of the week, which I personally don't like to do, I prefer to get all of my meals done. I have everything set up for Monday through Saturday, and then I start it all over again on Sunday.
Well, I've been taking notes also with you, and some of the things that I jotted down that you said is look at what you're eating, and I think you brought up a very valid point with the antibiotics. And I mean, I've seen it just like you said, the chicken is large. I mean, even some of the fruit is like extremely big. But you said something. You said start with a 7-day plan that can help create new habits, which ultimately will go up to that 21-day, how they say takes 21 days to create a new habit. But what you're suggesting is start with the first 7 days and then duplicate that. So ultimately you would have made it up to your 21st day. And hopefully by that time you would have started to create new habits. And you also said pick one thing and then continue to build from there. And I also like when you were talking about the meal prep, because then us entrepreneurs, we prep something healthy, and if we in that grab and go mode, we grabbing something that's healthy. Mm-hmm. So I think these are some and it's very real, and I'm asking like these questions for myself too, and for anyone out there that's watching that might need these tips and tools, because I know CT do. Now, but talk about the exercise piece. Like, what is your exercise regimen like? Or what can you recommend to entrepreneurs as far as morning, evening, 5-10 minutes, so we can get a good body workout? We're eating healthy, keep our energy up. What would you recommend as far as the exercise side?
So I have a lot of my clients, they get up earlier, right? So they'll get up earlier. A lot of them end up having like a bike, or they'll have like a treadmill or some sort of exercise equipment inside. And what they end up doing is like 10 to 15 minutes worth of cardio or a HIIT program. Like that's really easy. You get your day started by working out, you have your shake, you have your breakfast, and you're already ahead of the game because you've already accomplished something, right? And so now your energy's up for the rest of the day. Midday, if you're sitting around or you're in your car, stop, get out of the car, get out of the seat, get from behind your desk, 10 minutes, right? Do some air squats, some lunges, just some stretches. Just because we're sitting in this position, right, at work, we're sitting in this position in the car, we're sitting in this position when we watch TV. Our hip flexors are like this. So when we try to elongate, and now we're like, oh my gosh, I got pain, or I can't do that because that hurts. Well, because you've been sitting all day. When I do my client consults, I literally walk around. I go outside and I'm in the sun, I'm playing with the dog while still listening to what my clients have to say, because I can pay attention and I can hear them, right? Instead of sitting, which is what I do once I'm doing all of my admin. So, and then at night, when you come home, get your workout in if that's what you want to do, or go to the gym. I know the gyms are super crowded sometimes, right? But find something that you can do that's not going to take up a lot of space. You can always do cardio or create a circuit at one particular machine, which is what I like to do. If it's leg press, I'll grab some dumbbells, I'll grab a mat, I'll grab a med ball. I can do a circuit right there and be there for 3 to 4 sets and then move on to something else, right? If a person can't do that or they're not equipped for that, go home and do yoga. There's so many online programs, right, that have yoga or stretching. You can just Google that stuff, or you can work with me and I can give you one directly. Because I do yoga also.
Marci.
Yes, Coach Marci. And that way, at least you're going to bed and you're elongating before you go to bed, and it gets your mind right. I just made a post about this yesterday. We do so much of looking on the internet, TV, phones, like we're looking down. Kids nowadays, they're going to have the spinal flexion because they're constantly looking down and they're here, right? So elongate at night, stretch at night, get those hip flexors open, do a little ab work. A lot of people want abs, right? Well, abs are made in the kitchen. So if you're prepping and now you're doing some abs like planks and some crunches, all of it's going to end up coming together. You will end up losing weight. You'll feel better. Your clothes are going to fit better. You're going to have more energy for your kids to play golf, go swimming, running around, whatever it is that you want to do, you're going to have more energy and you're going to have clarity in the mind.
You know, I just got something from what you said, and I mean, I've heard things said different ways, but something that you just said, it made a light bulb go off for me personally. When you kept, and I wrote it down, elongate, that struck home for me. Because a lot of times, you know, because I'm big on strategy and implementation, but when you were talking about elongate, you're sitting and you're just stagnant. You're stagnant. And so in my head, I'm even translating that to my business. I need to incorporate the workouts because that in and of itself is just a part of the process. Even with my business, it's just a part of the flow. And then you had said, when you get into a place where you're just sitting all day, and that's sometimes how it is in business. We sitting on our gifts, we sitting on our dreams. But in this case, we're talking about what our bodies, our health and our wellness. We're just sitting and we're not elongating, we're not stretching, we're not growing to the next level. That elongate hit home for me. Thank you for that. Dr. Lee, anything you want to share?
Yeah, and Coach, I really wanted to ask you this because I saw it on your website. You have I guess it's your mantra. It says confidence reinvented. Mm-hmm. And I want you to talk about that. Talk about confidence reinvented and what that means to you, and then actually what it means in general, and how you came up with it.
Confidence reinvented. When we were going through, me and my marketing team, Honey Buzz, and out of Los Angeles, we were talking. They were looking at me and asking, you know, how I envisioned myself and how I felt after being unhealthy for so long, and how that made me feel today. And the one thing that they said is like, you're confident, which I am, right? But I've always been confident in my skin, whether or not I've been thick, whether or not I've been on stage, you know, doing a bodybuilder show. Confidence reinvented basically means just that. People, they get stuck, right? They get stuck in this little bubble where they feel like, especially after 40, right? 35, let's just take it down to 35. Like they can't get out of it. Or I'm too old to work out, or I'm too big boned, or it's just genetics. That's all lie. Okay, genetics partly, but you can change genetics very slightly. You absolutely can, right? Everything else is changeable. So when you start to work out, when you start to eat right, you have less foggy brain, right? Your joints don't ache. You're not inflamed. Your gut feels good. And when all of that kind of combined with the working out, like past 30 days, the one thing that I get from my clients, not necessarily that they've dropped a lot of weight, but that they feel better, that they feel more confident. This bleeds, and it goes right into what CT was saying. It bleeds into all areas of your life, including business. So if you're working well, you're working out well, eating well, you're going to have more clarity to say, hey, my ambition is on point. I've got this great idea, jot it down. And now you're implementing it into your business as well as your personal life. So your confidence is like through the roof. I got chills. It just completely engulfs you into just having just this fire underneath you, you know? So it's confidence reinvented, because at some point when we were younger, weren't we all confident? Right? Mm-hmm. I look at my daughter, she's 70 years. She, not to say she's cocky, but she's a little confident little mofo. But she also sees her mother, right? She sees her mom confident. She sees her mom eating and doing as she preaches, right? I put my daughter through ab workouts 3 times a week. Mommy, this hurts. I'm like, I know, I need 5 more.
Coach, all right, Coach Marci.
It starts at home.
Like, nope.
Keep going, honey. Keep going. So yeah, that's where confidence reinvented comes from, because it is confidence. You definitely feel reinvented all over. And that's where I also got the name for my business, Phoenix Tribe Fitness, right? It's, for me, it's like a phoenix coming out of fire, right? Coming out of that fog and just that flame and just coming out beautiful, right? Just beautiful, feeling good, flying it high, soaring over everyone, reaching for the stars and for your dreams, and for your hopes, and for all your achievements.
And we, as you've been sharing, we have people also chatting in the Facebook. So I want to get them and share some of their thoughts on what they've been sharing. Again, the author from Texas, she said, I have 6 kids and it's hard. That's my problem, is meal prep and eating throughout the day. I might eat twice a day. Now she says she's up to 5 days for the workout. And then when I started working out, I started 3 days for 20 minutes. And then she says losing weight is a part of it, but feeling good in your body is the reward. And then she said yes to what you just was talking about. Mm-hmm. Also, we want to give a shout out to Mr. Ronnie Francois. Thank you for plugging in and tuning in. Thank all the business owners that are tuning in right now. We see you dropping your business information in the chat feed. We thank you so much for plugging in. This is a very real topic, for leaders and entrepreneurs that's on the go, because you have your responsibilities, you have your mission ever before you, you're so locked into the mission. And then sometimes we are not focused on the healthy side of how we need to be eating, exercising, and so forth. But I'm telling you, when you said that word elongate, everybody that come on this show is always something that I get. I call it my golden nugget. And that is going to stick with me, Coach Marci. And actually, it shifted my perspective in terms of, because I've heard of the meal prep, but when you said elongate, that's what struck for me in terms of, if I'm talking about strategy and executing, but I need to do that same thing as it relates to the health and the wellness and all of that. And in doing so, that's going to elongate everything in my life. That's how I connected it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, good. I'm glad.
So I tell you, if somebody wanted your services, right? Somebody, maybe they're not in Georgia. Do you work with people virtually?
I do. I'm glad you said that. So I do online programming, and I have programs that range from 3 months, 6 months to 12 months, depending on what the goal is. Like, it's not cookie cutter for everybody. Some people only want a specific thing, which is fine. So what I end up doing is I program, we meet, we talk, we do a video assessment to make sure that they have no injuries. And if they do, I write down notes, making sure that I don't program on top of that injury, because there's no point of working out on top of an injury. You want to try to rehab that to get it stronger, create mobility, flexibility. And so with that also comes meal planning. So I talk to all of my clients about what kind of foods they do and don't like, whether or not they're allergic to certain things. And I create a meal plan for them for the first 4 weeks, and then we just kind of keep going. And even with the meal prep, there's something that one of my newer clients just signed up. He was just like, I'm sorry if I'm not following it exactly. I didn't know if I need to follow it to the T. And honestly, I create these plans, but sometimes people, they may not have the specific meat in the area or that specific fruit, right? It really is about the portion control more than anything else, and just the timing of the food and like the idea of what to eat. You know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be 100%. It needs to be at least 80% following what I'm saying, so that you can still get the benefits of it. And then of course, along with the programming comes, the workouts. So, and with the workouts, I can see if they've worked out, how well they did, whether or not they're lifting heavy. It's like the big brother. It's like, I'm watching you.
I got my eye on you.
They can't go without it. And if they didn't work out, I'm texting them like, hey, what happened? What's going on with you? Why you work out today? Or like, why are you lifting 20 pounds when I can lift 20 pounds and I know you can lift 40? You need to go heavier. You know what I mean?
So listen, y'all, if y'all need a real coach in your life, it's Coach Marci. It's not no cutting corners. But we need that accountability. That's what I'm hearing. It's accountability.
That's
Talk
all
about
it is.
The significance of accountability when you are going through the weight loss journey or just a life transformation around health and wellness. Why is that accountability piece so important?
It's so important because people can feel lost and alone, right? They don't have anyone to say, hey, or to even have just an empathetic, sympathetic ear. You know what I mean? A lot of the times my clients literally are just like, hey, coach, this is what's happening, because they've been glued to the scale. And I have to tell them, hey, the scale can't tell the difference between fat and muscle unless you're going to get like a specific type of dunking, what's it called? Hydrostatic weigh-in.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of it? Where you literally are underwater and it can take measure your body fat in comparison to your muscle, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing that, great. Do that every 2 weeks. But if not, don't get tied to the scale. And a lot of times clients are only reliant on that. And so they're like, hey, coach, I'm not losing weight and da da da. And so that accountability is like, but you've lost inches, but you feel good, but you just told me you had more energy. So I have to always remind them. And if somebody's on their own, they're going to get lost in just their own thoughts, in just that one thing that didn't happen, the negativity. Whereas I'm here to help them say, hey, look at the bigger picture. Look at what you've done. Look at what you've accomplished. Look how strong you've gotten, and then other times clients are just literally need to have someone that they can just check in with, because they know, one, if they're spending that money, they're not going to not do it. You know what I mean? If they know they have to check in with me once a week and they're looking at me and I can see them, they're not going to want to lie to me, because I'm gonna be able to tell. It's like, dude, really?
Right.
I'm gonna call them out on it. It's not in like a drill sergeant type of way. Mm-hmm. However, I am going to call people out and keep it lighthearted, but I'm dead serious. Mm-hmm. So I think accountability helps. And even with myself, when I've done my shows, I've had a coach. Coaches need coaches too. Like, I'm a firm believer in investing in myself for the greater cause, whether it's in business. I have business coaches that I deal with today, whether it's in working out and getting on the stage. I have had coaches in the past to help me with that. And even for myself, that accountability of knowing that once a week, I got to check in with my coach to see if I've done exactly what I was supposed to do, because I should have lost 1 to 2 pounds and I should be feeling a certain way.
Yeah. Coaches need coaches. We have comments in the feed. We thank also Rita Speaks for tuning in. She's in the Florida area. She has a phenomenal magazine, WYB magazine. She put a comment in the feed. I love accountability. It's needed in every area of our lives. So true. So true. And then we have some comments that you were sharing saying that's good. People dropping smiley faces, really connecting to what you're saying. Coaches need coaches. And I think sometimes even in the leadership world, entrepreneurship world, for those that are coaches, who's coaching us? Where's that accountability to make sure, how they say iron sharpens iron? That's essentially what I'm getting when you say coaches need coaches. We constantly need our iron to be sharpened. Dr. Leroy.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Coach. You mentioned it earlier about journaling. And do you incorporate journaling as a part of the accountability where the folks can see, oh, I did this on this and this day, or I've done this for X amount of weeks. And the reason I ask that is because I use this. It's called my lifestyle planner, and in that it's a planner, journal, devotional, like all encompassed in one. But part of it is I mark down like how much water I drink, the food that I eat, so I can actually go back and I can see exactly what it is that I've done. If I got on track, if I'm on track. Is that part of what you do as well too in that accountability?
So when I do my nutrition clients, I have them journal. They either can go on another app and like put in exactly what they're eating, or either they can take a picture of their food and give me a description of it. So they themselves can see what they're eating, right? Mm-hmm. They can see their portion size in comparison to what they were doing before in the past. And again, because I now have to see it, like they're not going to go off track, because I'm gonna be like, well, wait a minute, I can eye food because I've been doing it for so long. And it's like, well, wait a minute, what is that? Why are you eating that? I know I didn't put that on there. But also
it was an adjustment.
Right. I'm like, wait a minute, what is that?
They call it audibles.
Right. It's like, I didn't think you could eat that. But another part of journaling for me, which is what I've suggested to my clients doing, is write down what your goals are. Like, even if it's far away, if you're taking small steps to achieve, so if you're writing down, if the person is like 300 pounds, right, and they want to get under 200, right, I want to be under 200 pounds by next year, July 2023, right? And then write, how are you going to do that? I will commit to working out 4 to 5 times a week this week. I will commit to eating, my food prep meal this week. You know what I mean? So you're writing it down. And if you keep writing it over and over again, it becomes now then stuck in your head, and your subconscious is now pushing you towards that, right? It's not even in your subconscious, it's in your foreconscious at this point, because you're constantly looking at it and you're constantly writing it out. Not only that, you were then there going to do it because you don't want to lie to yourself. You don't want to lie to yourself, So you start to do it in ways where you're encompassing your entire life in order to achieve this goal, so that by next year, you would have gotten to the goal of being under 200 pounds by July of 2023.
Yeah, and I've always said, and I've come to realize this, that the mind will work towards anything that it actually thinks about. So if you're thinking negative thoughts, then the mind is going to work towards those negative thoughts. Same way in the other side, like you were just saying, if I'm thinking constantly and consistently about losing that pound to get under the certain amount. Because I had a friend, one of my closest friends from college. He had a bad heart, and he had to be, in order for him to get the transplant, he had to be under a certain weight, or they weren't going to do the surgery. So he had to do the meal prep. I saw him do it. He did the meal prep, and he was so excited when he had gotten under the weight. He was like, "Man, I finally made the weight, and I'm on the list. I'm on the list to be able to get the heart." So it's important that the mind will work towards anything that it sees that we should have our thoughts, and that's why our thoughts are so important, and what we think and what we do, whether it's business or whether it's in our health and nutrition, all of those things. So it's important. I like what you just said there, Marci, that it will work to what we can work towards that, but we have to have the mindset in order to be able to do it.
Absolutely. And as you were sharing, we have another comment in the chat feed from Miss Rita, and she said mental journey for sure. Like, it's a mindset thing. She was definitely in agreement. And also from this conversation, as I heard you talk about the journal, because I'm always, whether it's in my notebook or my, we have that app on your phone and your cell phone notebook. So I'm always like, I'm very religious with making my schedule, my things to do. But now what is really resonating is I need to insert my workout regimen as well, and how I'm going to do the meal prep, a part of that whole process. And this is why I say everybody has a skill and a talent and gifted for certain things, because I've heard this before, but it's the way you're delivering it this morning, and it's hitting home for me. And so I appreciate you coming on, and I know others that's watching now or that's going to hit the replay is going to hit home. What I hear from you, as I hear you share, you're very passionate about it. You're not just doing this just for the sake of doing it. You have a passion about it. And you can always tell someone when they're in a particular industry, are they doing it just because they're doing it, or do they have the passion for it? And your passion is shining through this morning. And I know anybody that have already coached with you can have that same testament. And I'm definitely going to be following up with you as well.
Okay, please do. Absolutely. I love this. This is my life. I want to help people. I want to see them thrive. I want to see them, continue living their best life, right? We are living longer, right? So why not enjoy it? Just because we're over 35 or over 40 doesn't mean we're going downhill, honey. It means that we are now at our prime. We are at our prime, baby. Like, we've got muscle memory, we've got experience. Why not live our best life? Like, if you're married and you've got your spouse, why not continue having those hot Wednesday night dates? Send the kids somewhere. Summer's about to happen. This is that time.
You want to coach Marci.
Absolutely. Like, I love it. I love being able to help people. I love when my clients tell me that they feel good, they look good, that their spouses are commenting on how they look, for that. And I was telling another client, the reason why I work with men, I said, honestly, I'm really helping out the women. The reason why I work with men is because technically I'm really helping their spouses. Because a lot of times women and men don't know how to communicate properly, right? It's lost in translation, right? It's just the way that we communicate, how we think, how our brain operates. Well, I've learned to be able to communicate with men, and for some reason they can be able to take what I'm saying without being offended, right? One, because I ain't their wife. And I can say it in a way where it's professional as well as kind, but yet like stern. So if they're listening to me, like their wives are getting the benefit, they're reaping all of it. Their husbands aren't snoring, right? Their bellies are going down. Their husbands have more stamina, hint, hint, right? Like, so all of this is working for them, and it's working for the house, right? It's working for the family. So this is why I love doing this job so much. Like, it's just, it brings me joy and it brings me pleasure for sure.
Coach Marci, you got to drop your contact information. How can people connect with you?
So I'm on, first of all, my website is www.phoenixtribefitness.com. My Instagram is phoenix.tribe.fitness. And then on Facebook, you guys can look me up under Marci Scott. Just the simple Marci Scott. My Facebook page is Phoenix Tribe Fitness 2.
Absolutely. And as you were sharing, we have Rita dropped in the chat feed. She said, "Hi, I ain't your wife. Come on." Not having to walk on eggshells. Keeping it real with Coach Marci.
Exactly.
So listen, this has been a phenomenal segment. In fact, she's about to go work with a client right now. So we appreciate you. We're definitely going to stay connected. I'm personally going to reach out to you, and we would love for you to grace us once again at another time to be a part of the show.
Please, absolutely. This was so much fun. Thank you so much for having me. Both of y'all have a wonderful rest of the day, and we'll chat soon.
All right.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks. Bye. Thanks, Coach.
All right. Dr. Leroy, let's close out. Any final words that you would like to share before we close out today?
Well, here's the thing that I took, and I wrote these down. And what I grabbed from Coach Marci and even Shadi, and what we want to do as entrepreneurs, and I call it the 4 Ds. You have to have a desire, you have to have the discipline, you have to be determined, and you have to decide to want to do it. And everything that you're doing, whether it's being intentional about having the licensing aspect of your business and intentional in growing your business, you got to have a desire to do it. You got to have the discipline to do it. That means there's a process to it. You got to go through that process. You got to be determined to do it. That means you're going to have obstacles. Like we talked about, you're going to have obstacles that you're going to meet. Are you determined enough that if you get knocked down, to get back up? And then you got to decide. You have to make a decision to want to do it. You have to make a decision because, as we said, the mind will work towards anything that you put it to. It will honestly work towards that, whether it's positive or negative. The mind is going to work to it. So I'll leave y'all with those 4, with those 4 Ds in order to be able to keep your business, keep your health, and all of those things that you want to achieve in life.
Wow. One of the things I just got from you, a golden nugget I'm taking away, is when you said desire and discipline, because we can have the desire but no discipline. Yeah. We got to have both to manifest our dreams and our goals. Well, those of you that know me know that the name of my business is CTR Strategy Solutions. If you need any assistance around strategic planning and organizational development, send me an email, ct@catherinetrotter.com. My website is first and last name, catherinetrotter.com, Catherine with a C. This Saturday at 12 noon, we do have a networking event that's going to be local in the Maryland area. So if you want more information about that, just send me an email. Then on May the 14th, I'm having a business summit. It's a business development summit, and it's a 4-hour training session. It's going to be combo of live for those that's in the Maryland area, and for those that are not, we will have a virtual component. So again, if you're interested in any of that information, send me an email, ct@catherinetrotter.com. And like always, you know what I'm going to say, we will see you at the top. Have a great day.